Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine starting a business from, well, absolutely zero, hitting a brick wall right away, losing staff because you're not making money, and choosing to keep going. What kind of mindset does that take?
That moment of doubt, yeah. That fear setting, and it's the defining point for so many ventures, isn't it? Do you pack it in or do you push through?
Exactly. And that's the incredible story at the heart of the deep dive we're doing today. We're digging into sources shared by one of our listeners specifically, a powerful interview with Jacqui Bailey, president of HR Project Partners from the Gale Force Winds YouTube channel.
Right, in this conversation, it's not just about HR. It's like a roadmap of navigating a decade of entrepreneurial life. You know, handling unexpected challenges, building a thriving business, and the sheer mental resilience required to see it through.
So our mission here is to pull out the most valuable insights from her journey, the practical stuff about leadership, the often underestimated value of HR, how she powered through the lean times, and what continuous growth really looks like in practice.
Yeah, we'll trace her path from a pretty unconventional start through that critical decision to launch her company, the tough early struggles, the factors that fueled her success, the core services of her business, and even how she's already expanded by starting a second venture. It's quite a story.
It really is. Ready? Let's jump right in with her background, because it definitely didn't begin with a traditional business degree.
No, far from it, actually. She started with social work, working directly in the helping field. I think she mentioned running a shelter for abused women, which really grounds her story, I think, in a sense of service and, understanding people.
And then talk about a pivot. Wow. In the early 2000s, she made this huge leap into the training department at the Iron Ore Company of Canada. That's going from a shelter to mining completely different worlds.
It is, yeah. And she just embraced it fully. She learned entirely new skills in that industrial environment, taking on various roles. It's actually where she first encountered the project world, getting involved in community relations for an expansion project. That exposure was crucial.
Right, exposure to large-scale projects. And that project experience opened the door to a massive opportunity when she moved to St. John's. She landed the HR manager role on the Hebron project,
which she described as a big role, especially, like you said, since she hadn't formally trained specifically as an HR manager in that corporate setting before. But she brought all her prior experience, her ability to learn, and, well, she built a significant team there over 3 years on what was a mega project by any standard.
Huge. And she didn't stop learning there either. She went on to get her project management professional, the PMP certification.
Well, right, the PMP. That's a widely recognized credential for managing complex projects effectively. Getting that showed her commitment, didn't it? To deepening her knowledge specifically around the project environment where she was working, kind of blending that project management discipline with her people skills.
So she had this incredible blend of experience. Social work, large industrial projects, HR management. What happens when the Hebron project wraps up and the market dips in late 2014?
Well, she found herself facing unemployment. And this is that classic crossroads moment we talked about. Look for another job that fits her resume or try something entirely different.
And despite having zero experience running a business, not from a business family, no formal training there, she had the knowledge, right? The industry, projects, people. And she decided to have a go at starting her own company.
Yeah, have a go. And what's fascinating about that decision is how practical she was from day one.
Yeah.
She didn't have like a grand 5-year plan mapped out. She just focused on immediate action.
Hitting the ground running, reaching out to her existing network, which she called the lower hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Leveraging those relationships built over years was her initial strategy.
Smart.
Very smart. And she even brought in early support, hiring Janessa Cole almost immediately. They defined their values right away, making sure the business reflected Jacqui's personal values, got a website up. They built that initial structure very quickly.
But then came 2015.
Yeah.
And the source makes it clear this was a very rough year. Very rough.
Yeah.
They did very little business. And this led to an incredibly difficult decision late that year. She had to lay Janessa off.
Oof. You can really feel the weight of that decision when she talks about it. That moment of having to step back, evaluate, and the fear starting to creep in, realizing just how easy it would be to simply give up.
That right there is the crucible for so many entrepreneurs, isn't it? When the initial momentum stalls, the money isn't coming in, and you face tough choices, like laying someone off who believed in you. It hits your confidence hard. It would be perfectly rational to quit at that point.
But she talks about pushing through. Janessa still supported her part-time, which is amazing. And Jacqui just kept networking, kept reaching out, kept putting herself out there.
And then, she says, something shifted.
The turning point was the first quarter of 2016.
Yeah, things finally started to click. Clients began coming in. They were successfully filling roles. She even put herself back out on contract personally, to generate revenue and build momentum for the new company.
That combination of taking action while also doing the hands-on work, that seems key. And it started rebuilding her confidence.
Absolutely. She wisely points out that rejection, it chips away at confidence. But every small success and every new piece of experience helps build it back up. And with that momentum came the ability to build a track record, to point to actual work done and clients served, which is essential when you're a brand new company.
So true. And since that shift in 2016,
she says they haven't stopped growing. Fast forward 10 years, and HR Project Partners has 2 offices, works with clients across Canada, and at their peak had 100 employees placed on contract with clients. That's a massive trajectory from that near-failure moment in 2015.
Incredible. So looking back at that decade of sustained growth, what does she identify as the absolute core pillars of that success? Was it one thing?
No, she's clear it wasn't one single thing. It's a combination. First and foremost, she emphasizes surrounding yourself with good people, building a fantastic team who grew with the company and can now help manage the business day to day.
That's crucial. You can't scale without great people. Okay. She also talks a lot about maintaining a positive mindset.
Yes, this came up repeatedly. She describes herself as naturally positive, crediting being raised by strong women who taught her to dust yourself off after setbacks. The insight here is that you have to actively control your mindset, not let fear of rejection or failure dictate your actions.
And that proactive approach extends to constant learning, right? She didn't just stop.
Absolutely. She talks about lifelong learning, constantly educating herself, working on her mindset, and ensuring professional development for her team. Through programs like the Gardner Center or the Connections Leadership Journey, you have to continuously show up, learn, and evolve to maintain your position as experts in your field. It's essential.
So great people, a strong mindset, continuous learning. What else?
Belief. Simple as that. Belief in yourself and the team. Having really great clients who trust them enough to give them the work, and operating with core values that align personally, which she feels naturally leads to high-quality work and a positive approach to business. It's that alignment that builds trust, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. You brought up mindset and learning, and this leads to something she invested in about 1.5 years ago that she found surprisingly impactful, hiring a business coach.
Right, which, as the interviewer noted, might seem counterintuitive for someone already successful. Why would she need that? But her motivation was wanting to work smarter, not just harder, work less and still continue to grow, essentially figuring out, how can I work less and make more?
And her coach, Mindy Paul, has this fascinating connection she trained under Bob Proctor, who famously drew heavily from Napoleon Hill's classic, Think and Grow Rich.
That book. It's had such a profound impact on so many people, including the interviewer himself earlier in his life, he mentioned. It's powerful that her coach's approach traces back to those, fundamental principles of mindset and goal setting.
So the core teaching from Bob Proctor's work that really resonated with her was, we are in control of our thoughts.
This is such a simple yet profound concept, isn't it? It's about recognizing that while you can't control external events like getting stuck in traffic, you can control how you choose to react to them. You have agency over your own thinking.
And she found this focus on mindset incredibly helpful, especially when combined with visualization of growth and being in a coaching group surrounded by other successful people. That environment can be contagious, right?
Totally. It reinforces that mindset isn't a passive state. It's something you actively cultivate and work on. And sometimes, having guidance helps focus that.
Now, even with that focus on mindset and all her success, she's very open about still facing internal challenges like
imposter syndrome. Yeah. She acknowledges it's very real and can definitely still creep in, even after building a successful decade-old company. It doesn't just vanish.
So how does someone like her deal with that when it pops up?
Well, it starts with awareness, recognizing it for what it is. Then it's about accepting you're not perfect, that you will make mistakes, and relying on your team. She actually encourages her team to point things out and course correct.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, fostering a culture of shared responsibility rather than feeling like she has to have all the answers. Having support systems is also key, she mentioned.
And she links overcoming it to leading by example. She talks about the importance of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes, exactly. Like when she was asked to guest host many interviews at Minx. Her point was, If she expects her team to step outside their comfort zones, doing presentations or client calls, whatever it is, she has to show up and do it too, even if she feels fear or uncertainty. You acknowledge the fear, but you do it anyway. And you learn from the experience, even if it's not perfect.
Yeah, good point. Okay, let's switch gears back to her core expertise for a bit. The interviewer mentioned he was shitty at HR, his words, despite being good at other business aspects. Why is HR so uniquely challenging?
As she put it so well, people are complex. There's just nothing simple or black and white when you're dealing with human beings.
She frames HR as a gray area.
Precisely. It's not like accounting where numbers have definitive rules.
Yeah.
In HR, you're dealing with an employee's diverse life issues, their stresses, the factors they bring from home into the workplace. Situations rarely fit neatly into a predetermined box, which demands creativity and, thinking outside the box to find solutions.
So, considering that complexity, what exactly does HR project partners do to help companies navigate this gray area? What are their main services?
She outlined their three main service areas. First is recruitment, essentially permanent placement or headhunting, helping companies find and hire full-time employees for specific roles.
Okay, standard recruitment. Second is contract personnel.
Right. This is where they supply staff for short-term needs or specific projects. These individuals are actually employees of HR project partners who handle all the payroll, benefits, etc., but they work on-site for the client.
Ah, I see. This is really common in project-based industries or for covering things like maternity leaves, right? And she mentioned the scale here, they've placed up to 100 people at a time on contract.
Yeah, up to 100 people at peak, so it's a significant operation in itself. And the third main area is HR consulting.
Which sounds like a huge umbrella.
It is. It covers pretty much everything else related to HR. Things like developing policies, crucial documents like employment agreements or handling terminations, where she stresses there's definitely a right and wrong way to protect both the company and the employee. It also includes compensation and benefits reviews, performance management systems, just about anything else involving the people side of the business.
Going back to policies for a second, she really highlighted their importance. Why are policies so critical for a business? It sounds maybe a bit bureaucratic.
Well, she called them the foundation and the roadmap of a business. And that's spot on, I think. For employees, they provide clarity. They know what to expect regarding time off, how performance issues are handled, what the rules are. It reduces assumptions and uncertainty.
Okay, makes sense for employees. And for the business itself?
They are key for risk reduction and liability management. Having clear policies sets expectations, provides documentation if issues arise, and helps ensure legal compliance. It's not just bureaucratic overhead, it's fundamental to good, structured business practice.
Got it. Okay, so she built this hugely successful HR business over a decade, but recently she spotted another opportunity and started a second company. That's Ambition.
Yes, about a year and a half ago, she partnered to start Adapt Safety Solutions, which is a health and safety consulting company.
Okay, health and safety. What prompted that move? Was it related to HR?
Kind of. She saw a clear need, actually starting with her own internal requirement for health and safety support that didn't necessitate a full-time hire. She realized that many other small to medium-sized companies had the exact same challenge they needed: expert safety help, but couldn't justify a full-time safety manager.
Ah, so they created a model to fill that gap, like fractional support.
Exactly. It's a platform-based consulting service led by a safety expert partner. They provide essential compliance support, helping companies navigate things like workers' compensation regulations and developing safety programs.
And she specifically mentioned helping companies get COR certification. What's that?
Right, the COR certification. It's a crucial safety standard, particularly in certain industries. It's often a non-negotiable requirement for companies who want to bid on work with larger industrial clients, like those in mining or oil and gas. So Adapt Safety Solutions essentially helps smaller companies get the safety credentials they need to compete for those bigger contracts.
Wow, that's a perfect example of that entrepreneurial mindset, identifying a need and building a business to meet it.
Definitely. Always seeing opportunities.
Beyond running her businesses, she's also deeply invested in the community, isn't she?
Very much so. She's involved in various industry associations like Mining NL, Energy NL, the NL Construction Association, and local chambers of commerce.
And she sees that involvement as a direct contributor to business success, not just, good citizenship.
Absolutely. She framed it as an investment of time and resources, but vital for networking, maintaining a visible presence, meeting potential clients and partners. It's essentially necessary marketing and helps build recognition in the industries she serves.
Makes sense. She also talked about giving back, connecting it back to her social work roots, which I thought was interesting.
Yes, that belief in giving back to the community, especially vulnerable groups, seems like a core value for her. She sees it as simply the right thing to do.
And she gave a really concrete example of that in the interview, didn't she?
She did. During an interview she was guest hosting in Labrador, she spontaneously announced a $5,000 donation to Kids Eat Smart in Labrador. It wasn't a planned segment or anything. It seemed like a genuine act of generosity that perfectly illustrated her commitment to that value, putting more money where her mouth is.
Yeah, powerful. You also get a sense of a strong personal drive from her, this need to get things done.
Oh, yeah. She described it as liking to tick boxes, seeing projects completed, not letting things linger. And now with a team, delegation is crucial to achieving that sense of completion across the business.
And tied to that is decision-making, right? Not getting stuck.
Yes, not being afraid to make decisions, sometimes quickly.
Yeah.
She acknowledges that not every decision works out perfectly, but she views challenges and mistakes not as failures, but as opportunities to learn lessons and improve for the next time. That learning mindset again.
Right. So if you were to distill her entire journey and advice down to one core message, what would it be? What's the main takeaway?
I think she said it herself, quite clearly. Don't let fear stop you.
Fear. Yeah, it's such a powerful word.
It is. And she sees it as the primary thing, holding people back. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough, fear of not making money. You name it. It's a powerful barrier.
And this loops back to that mindset piece we discussed earlier.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that you can control your thinking and choosing not to be paralyzed by that fear. Trusting your intuition is important, she says.
Yeah.
But she balances that by saying you still need to do your homework. A little bit of fear might even keep you sharp and on track, but the key is it shouldn't become a blocker. It shouldn't stop you.
That makes sense. She also touched on something tricky, the balance between confidence and arrogance. How do you stay confident without crossing that line?
Yeah, that's always a fine line. She gave some really practical advice, though. Stay true to who you are. Remember where you came from. She even mentioned her first job at a fish plant, which I thought was grounding. Maintain humility. Be willing to get your hands dirty.
Yeah, cleaning the office herself if needed.
Right. Practice gratitude for what you have. And always acknowledge the support you've received from others along the way.
It's about staying grounded, isn't it? Even as you achieve significant success.
Precisely. Recognizing that success is built on the shoulders of others and staying connected to your roots. That seems key to her approach.
So there you have it, a truly inspiring journey from social work and industrial projects to building a massive, successful HR company and even a second venture. Quite the arc.
Her story powerfully illustrates the critical role of resilience when faced with unexpected setbacks, the immense power of cultivating an intentional, positive mindset, the non-negotiable value of continuous learning, the strength that comes from surrounding yourself with a great team and investing in your community, and ultimately the simple but profound courage it takes to just start, keep pushing through the tough times, and refuse to let fear win.
Yeah, and these aren't just lessons for aspiring entrepreneurs, right? They're insights applicable to anyone pursuing a goal, navigating uncertainty in their career or life, or simply striving for personal growth. Her journey shows the path is rarely smooth, but with the right approach, those setbacks can truly become launch pads.
Absolutely. This deep dive really highlights that inner strength is such a key ingredient in outer success.
So let this sink in for you listening. If, as she learned from her coaching, you are truly in control of your thoughts and how you react to fear, what is one fear that might be holding you back right now? A fear of failure, judgment, stepping outside your comfort zone that you could simply choose not to let stop you?
Yeah. Something to consider as you move forward.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.